Everyone, Raven of the Retro Dev here, and welcome to a very lovely tutorial. In this tutorial, we're actually going to set up the FTEQW engine, TrenchBroom, as well as I'm going to show you how to deploy your maps to DOS on the off chance that you actually want to make an original Quake mod that, works with DOS. But first we need to set up all of the tools. Now, before we get started, there is quite a lot to be covered in this video. It's going to be about 25 to 30 minutes long, probably. And the other thing as well that also needs to be covered, or will be mentioned, is if you have any questions at all about this, you can comment in the video link below, but preferably there's a link to the forums, and it would be much better if you actually responded on the forums, as the forums is a much better place to actually interact and do things with people. Okay, so the first thing, of course, is we need the FTEQW engine. So we just go to the downloads here, grab whichever one for whichever, whoops, didn't mean to hit my key like that. Grab whichever ones for whichever architecture you were using or you're on. In this case, I'm on Linux 64-bit. I'm on Pop! OS 64-bit. So I grab this FTE client. If you're on Windows, grab the Windows client and so forth. You can use the latest revision or the current stable on Windows, but I would just use the latest revision. I haven't found any. The next thing you need is TrenchBroom. And you just want to hit the download button, scroll, and then grab whichever one you need. Now, for Linux users, you guys can probably already figure most of this out anyway. But if you don't have the deb or the RPM, you're going to have to source compile. So have fun with that. Windows users, you just grab whichever one for whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. You can ignore the MD5s. That's just for checksum. You can ignore that completely. But just grab the .7-zip. Make sure you have 7-zip, and then just extract it. Remember where you put it. That's the main thing. The next thing you're going to need is FTEQW tools. Now, I'm actually using this one here, the FTEQW 18.2-RC1. The reason that we're going to be using this one is because it has a little bit of extra support, and I haven't found in any of my testing at any point in time where, anything has been broken or anything like that. Okay. So the next thing, this is the documentation page for FTEQW tools. You definitely are going to want to bookmark this and use it because there's a lot, and I mean a lot of extra features. Like you can add bounce lighting. You can add Phong shading, ambient occlusion, sunlight penumbras, fake area lights, surface lights. You can also, when you go when you go into the light thing here, it gives you all the model entity keys for what you need as far as, basically everything you need for everything in relation to this tool. And the cool thing is all this stuff works inside of like vanilla Quake because I've already tested it. I was able to use bounce and the better extra 4. I haven't tried anything else, but it all worked, so that's pretty cool. The other thing we need the WAD files. We're going to cover all of this specifically, but Dump Truck DS has a great modding community, and I highly recommend you check him out for like TrenchBroom tutorials. I'm going to do some myself, but the man is way better than me. So the next big thing, you're going to need these WADs. At a minimum, you need the id1.wad. But I would also grab Hypnotic and Rogue. I also grab the prototype. Basically, you can grab all the WADs, but the only ones you truly need is the id1.wad. The Hypnotic and the Rogue, they are for Quake expansions. Okay, so the first things first. We actually need the Quake asset data. There is no, as far as I'm aware, any open Quake asset. So you need to own Quake. There probably is an open Quake, but I'm not aware of its existence. But since there's a free Doom, there's probably a free Quake. Uh, and this is the Steam version, as you can see up here. Now, one thing I want to note about the Steam version specifically, there is a re-release folder. That is for the enhanced version that has Steam Play and all that extra stuff, all of which is wonderful. We don't need literally anything in here. In fact, we're just going to ignore this thing completely. So just copy everything out of your Steam folder. If you have the GOG version or the disk version, you just want to copy all your stuff over. And now what we need to do is somewhere you need to make a folder somewhere. And you doesn't matter what you call it. I called it Quake. I'm probably going to change the name to Quake Dev, but I'm not going to do it in the middle of the video. But basically, this is where you're going to store everything. So the game data folder is where you're going to copy, all of your Quake data, just all of it. And as you can see, it's all in here. And I've already even copied FTEQW 64, which is the Linux version. And we're just, go to your downloads, wherever you downloaded it, and just copy it over and put it in the base directory. And then when you launch it, you'll get, which is effectively this. This is the FTEQW, and you can see that everything's working as intended. I can jump in the lava and die. It's all glorious. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to quit because we don't need to be into that. Okay. The next thing, the maps folder. The maps folder is where we're going to store all of our working maps. And you can have subdirectories and stuff in here. All of that's totally fine. I'm just going to be working just straight out of the maps folder. The next thing is the WADs. Now, the WADs are just texture data. Now, for TrenchBroom doesn't have any of this set up from the pack file, so you have to have the WAD data. So just copy all of the WADs that you downloaded off of here and plunk them straight into the WADs folder. And just remember where all this stuff is, because it's all going to be a little important later. The next thing we need to do, go into the tools folder, and I have an unpacker for unpacking pack files. You guys don't need that. But I made an Erica W folder, and then I extracted basically the bin and the doc for the Erica W folder and just threw it right in, just toss it in there. You're done. You just need to know where it is. The bin folder is where you're going to need everything. Your docs is obviously your documentation. So like, example, this is the light documentation for this. So you have a local copy if you should need it. Okay. So now what do we need to do? Well, now we just want to launch TrenchBroom. Let's launch TrenchBroom. And as you can see, I've already recorded this before, among other things. I have no idea how to delete it. That's fine. So we're going to make a new map. And we're just going to stroll down to Quake. Now, here's the really cool thing. You can use the old Quake format or the new Valve format, which supports a lot more features. The interesting thing is, I've been testing with the Valve format, and I do not know the full limits to that. So if you're going to be making a old DOS or, non-FTEQW build, like, you're going to be using like the original Quake engine or something, you probably want to stick with the regular format, because if you start doing certain things, it might break and you don't want to have to like rebuild your whole map. But we're just going to work with the Valve format because we like to live dangerously. But you'll notice here that I actually have some extra stuff. And here is the Kingpin engine, by the way, for those of you that want to actually work with the Kingpin engine, which would be the remake, which I'm pretty sure it was called the Kingpin engine. I cannot remember, but it doesn't matter. Ignore that portion. Open preferences, when you have the Quake selected, will pull this tool up, and then you just want to scroll down, or not scroll, you want to just click down, just go straight to the Quake, and we want to set up the game path, which is our game data folder, which we created here. And it's just the root directory. This will tell it where to grab all of the entity files and the pack files and everything that it needs. The next thing you want to do is you want to add in the compilation tools, which are in the Erica W bin folder that you made, and then just grab the QBSP file, which It's right here. If you're on Windows, it'll end in a .exe extension, but we're on Linux, so no extension. And then you just want to set up the vis tool and the light tool. Now to quickly explain these tools, the QBSP tool builds the BSP. The vis tool builds the vis files, which is used for like collision, occluding, and stuff like that. And the light tool obviously builds the light maps. That's it. That's all you need. And then we want to configure the engine. Now I already have the engine configured, but all this does is let TrenchBroom properly launch the engine with the right parameter. And you just click this little plus sign down here, and then I named it FTEQW. And then in the game data folder, there's literally FTEQW64. That's the one you pick, and you're good. That's literally it. I mean, we've literally done everything that we need to do. So now we're just going to hit OK. And we have our new map. Awesome, right? We're inside of TrenchBroom. Now I want to be very clear, this map is not about map making. I'm not going to cover any basics on like, how to, make a map or anything like that. We're not going to do that. So, what we do need to do though is, and I'm going to go down here and click this group so it'll group everything. So we need to actually add our WAD files. So down here in texture collections, way down here at the bottom, you can just click anywhere here. You can click the show, you can click on the texture collections, doesn't matter. It pulls up this little hidden sub menu, and then you hit the plus sign, and then you want to navigate to wherever you stored your WADs, and you want to select idwad1, and you can choose absolute, just because it's separate from the map file, but any of these should work fine. We'll just hit OK. And then I'm just going to group these. Not that it matters. I'm not going to bother grouping. Okay, because it doesn't group in any useful manner whatsoever. You can also group by used as well. But maybe if you had multiple maps or WAD files, this might help. Okay, so all we need to do now, we just need to make our map. And we're just going to do like a really basic map. So you can hold right mouse to move the camera around. Shift when you hover over. So like when you just first select, you're in the selection, you hold shift and you get this little yellow line outline around the face. This allows us to drag the tools. But also you can use WSAD in order to drag everything around. This part's going to go pretty quick. Again, I really recommend you go to Dump Truck. He covers all this stuff in immense detail, and I'll probably upload some better stuff, but we're just trying to get this map done and not turn this into like a 40-minute video. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this thing out until it says X is on 512. We actually can't get this here. Okay, perfect. And now to click and drag, when you're not holding shift, you can just click and drag anything. I'm just trying to reposition this a little bit so it's a bit more in the center. You can actually, I believe, go... Oh, if there's nowhere you can select. Okay, that's fine. Doesn't really matter anyway. I was seeing if there was any way to recenter it towards the origin, but it doesn't really matter. It's not a big... Okay, so all I'm really doing is just making this 512 by 512, just to give us like a little bit of room to work with, Okay, so how do we actually like add a wall? Because just hit B, and this is up here for the brush tool, and then we're just going to drag this out, and now we have our little yellow outline here, and then we hold shift and we drag out. We're just going to make this 32 thick to match the floor. And then we'll just hit enter. And as you can see, we have a nice, lovely little wall. And then we're just going to... I'm going to hit escape once. And then we're just going to drag this up. And we're just going to make it 512 tall. Perfect. Okay, so that's a pretty tall wall there. Now, before we go off and actually start adding in our other walls really quick, we're going to go ahead and add in our entities. So I'm going to add in the player start. And if I go scroll way down, you can see that this little cone that points out, that's the direction. So the player will be starting facing this way. Okay, so now that that's done, I just wanted to add that in really quick. We are going to hit B again, and I'm going to add in another lovely, beautiful little, I'm going to hit enter to save that and then hit escape. I'm going to make this one 512 as well, so it matches. These are just some pillars just to have like a little bit of extra, escape to cancel that. These are just some extra pillars, just to have a little bit of extra like height variation, and so we can have like a little bit of shadowing and stuff like that. Okay, so now we need to add in everything else. Now the next part, this part's actually quite simple. All we need to do is select this, hit Control D, and then just drag it over and make sure that if, like I said, if you've ever used Hammer or anything like that, you know you cannot have light leaks. Very bad. Not light leaks, level leaks. So your level has to be fully enclosed. So like this level would violate everything because there's nothing in it. So the next thing we want to do is we just want to select both of these and then do a Control D and then hit R to pull up the rotate tool, which is found right here. And then we just want to rotate these. Boom. We've done it. Congratulations. And then we just want to hit escape, select this tool again, or sorry, the bottom face, the floor, hit Control D. Now you'll notice if you try to drag around, it only drags, it locks to the axis. But if you hold Alt, you can drag it up. And these actually clip through, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're inside of here. So what do we need to do now? Well, now we need a light. So let's give ourselves a little bit of a light. Let's just plonk in this light. And it'll be facing in that direction, but this is fine. And then we're just going to put it... does it say... Yeah, let's just do 248. And the light radius will be 300. I'm going to set it to be 320. Okay, perfect. Now, all we're going to do now is do some very basic texturing. We're just going to texture the whole entire brush. So we're just going to select the brush, go to face, then we're going to scroll down, and we're just going to, you can apply anything. You can apply that floor, basically anything you want. But there's another floor that I want. I want to use this floor here. Perfect. And now we're just going to select the walls and select multiple brushes. You just left click and hold Control. And we're just going to scroll down. I'm going to select this one, City 6. Okay, perfect. I should have also selected these as well. Okay, we've done it. Now we can just hit escape. Oh, wait. Sorry. Let's select the ceiling here. Scroll up. There was a ceiling, I believe, up here. Is the ceiling? I missed the ceiling. Where's the ceiling? It's alphabetical, so I don't know how I missed it. There it is. We'll do ceiling 5. Perfect. Not, the most pretty, but it does the job. Okay. So now we have everything. So now what we want to actually do is we want to, actually, you know what? I'm going to drag this and move this over. So there's a little bit of distance between these. Give it a little bit of extra room. Goes way up. Okay, perfect. Now we want to save our map. So we'll just hit Control S. Then it's going to pop up with all sorts of stuff, and I'm going to hide the hidden folders there. I'm going to go to the Documents folder, Quake, and Maps. I'm going to call this, I'm going to call this YouTube 1 test. Nah, I'll just call it YouTube 1, and then we'll hit save. And now we've saved our map. So now what we need to do is we actually need to build the map. And we just do a file, compile engine. Now I already have a very basic map with I was playing around with like some extra runtime tools and stuff like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to make our own. And we're just going to call it fast compile. Okay. And what this means is when you hit this is just going to do the bare default minimums to just get the map out. Actually, I'm going to call it basic compile. You know what? You can call it whatever you like, because technically it's not going to use the fast viz option. You know what? I'm going to call it fast compile. I like that better anyway. The first thing we need to do is we need to export our map. And this auto generates everything you need for this. And basically what this does is it'll take our map to the current working directory. And all it's really doing is making a copy, but it's changing the name with -compile. This is very useful if you don't do this, you could theoretically end up you know, corrupting your map data. So all this really does just make sure that your map's not corrupted. It's not really doing anything other than that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to run our tools. Now, which tool do we need? So we need to go into the TheRetroDev tool, the bin. The first tool we want to run is QBSP. Now, how does this work? Okay, so we go over to here, my base compile. You can see that I already set it up. So all we really want to do is get the map name, which is the base map name -compile, and then we just want to convert it over into a BSP. So relatively simple. So $, and then we just want to do map base name -compile .map. And then what do we want to turn it into? Well, we want to turn it into map base name, and I love that it auto completes that for you, .bsp. Now, what this, like I said, what this does is it converts it to a BSP, which is useful. Now, if we hit compile, you'll see that it ran through and it did everything that it was supposed to. And if we go back out here into our map data, you can see that we have our BSP file. Awesome. Perfect. Amazing. So the next thing we want to do is we run our vis tool. And this one is relatively easy because all we really have to do is feed it our just our BSP file. Now, if we go back to Firefox here and we load up QBSP, I'm going to just load all these up here. You can see that there's a lot of extra options. Like you can do no fill, you can do no clip, no skip. You can print out more map information. You can create it in a different, map BSP format. I guarantee you this map format here is probably not compatible with the original Quake. But if you want to build more complex maps and all this sort of stuff, you can use this feature. And in order to use these things, you put them in front of the parameter. So if you scroll up here, it's option, source file, destination file. And this is the viz tool. But so like you would do BSP2. Believe that was, yep, okay. And then you have the source and then the destination. We're not going to do any of that. And also, we're going to move the vis tool down. So the vis tool's done. That one's really simple. It doesn't really do a whole lot. So the run tool for the light is the next thing we're going to do. And interestingly enough, the light tool, we just need to feed it the BSP file. You can feed it these extra files if you like, or sorry, these extra data. And if you go to here, you can see you have extra stuff like bounce lighting and Vong ambient occlusion and all sorts of stuff. And it explains how to set everything up. This is just going to be a basic. So we're just going to compile, and as you can see, everything was compiled. Amazing. So the next thing we need to do is we actually want to copy the file. So we need our source file, and we could just copy this, which is, our working data. I'm just making sure that I actually don't feel like you really need this portion here, this work path. Really don't feel like you need that, but since it works, it's fine. I'm just going to leave it. If it works, it works. But our map name is not .map. It is .bsp. And the next thing we want to do is we want to copy. So this is the source. So this is the file that we're going to copy from. Now we need to copy to our game dir path here. And we want to do id1 and then maps. And let me just double check, make sure. Yep, okay, I did that right. And then we'll just do another / there. And what we're doing now is we're just telling it to put it in the map folder, and the file is whatever our file name, which is yt1.map, or sorry, yt1.bsp. And then just double check, make sure it's right. Perfect. And again, you can check the forum and the... Actually, no. I'm going to put all this stuff in the forum because YouTube descriptions are awful, especially after the change. Check the forum for all of these commands and their parameters and everything the way I have it set up. And now what we want to do is go out of here, go into game data, go into id1, go into maps, and if we hit compile, tab back over, boom, you see it, it's in there, it's awesome, it's amazing. And then you can also run the tests to, make sure, I guess, everything executes properly, but... Okay, so when you hit launch engine, you get this. Now I already have some parameters because obviously, of course, I was playing around with it to make sure this worked before the video. But we already set up our engine, so we don't have to do that part. So the parameter is plus map, and then the map name, which in this case is YT1. Now, if you did everything right, when you hit launch, it will launch straight into the map. And as you can see, it is very, very, very dark. And yeah, but it works. And so I'm actually gonna tweak that light really quick. Entity. I'm gonna set that light to 500. We're gonna compile it again, and then we're gonna launch it again. This will be the last one, no matter what this looks like. There you go, nice and full bright. And there's a lot of different options, like you can add like bounce lighting and stuff. So let's actually real quick. Let's actually look at how that works. So let's set this to 320 again. And then let's go to the light tool, which is right here. And we want to add dash bounce. And I'll go ahead and add dash extra 4 and then definitely put the space there. And then we'll hit compile. And it already instantly built it. It's only one light. I have a fairly fast computer. Not going to take very long. And as you can see, it built better shadowing. And it does look a little better. Let me make sure that I actually did that command right. Does extra 4 need to go in front of bounce? Oh. File. Basically, what I'm trying to figure out is when I ran mine. No, that works. That works pretty good. Okay, so there's a bit more lighting. As you can see, there is some bounce. And the shadowing is a lot smoother. But it depends on what you want. If you don't want the hard shadows, you're not going to get the hard, don't do the hard shadows. So, the next part. Now, what you could do for the next part, you can't copy this. Oh, you can duplicate it. Oh my goodness, you can duplicate it. That is the most magical thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Duplicate. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this. And then I'm going to call this DOS compile. Since, this is the TheRetroDev here. We do some DOS stuff up in here. A lot of stuff is going to stay the same, except for the target directory. This part is going to change significantly. So what we want to do here, I'm just going to make a new window. And I'm just going to go off screen here because I have tons of stuff in it. So we want to go into my DOS directory. That's the wrong DOS directory. I mean, it's the right DOS directory, but it's the wrong DOS directory. For that particular one, it's the backup, one of the backup directories. Let's see here. So we want to go into DOS, games, scroll. So many games that I have in here. Why am I unable to read? Quake, id1, maps. And as you can see, I already have the map in here. Now you could just manually copy stuff over, but honestly, that's kind of lame. We're not, we do like really cool stuff. So you just want to like copy this URL here and hit copy. And then we want to go back into here, and where you see this game directory path, you actually want to manually assign your thing here. And we're going to call this maps. Let me go back into here, make sure that's right. Storage, FreeDOS, DOS, maps, perfect. And I'm just going to move this over here, and I'm going to hit compile. And what do you know? There it is. So let's see if it actually works. So I don't have the disk in anything. Audio. This wouldn't want Bethesda, taking ownership of my thing there. And I'm just going to do a new game. And now we're in the DOS version. And we're just going to run map YT1. There you go. You have your you have your beautiful map. And I'm gonna enable imlook really quick, and then I'm gonna full screen it. And I look around, and I have my beautiful map. And this is just, I just love this. So now I'm just gonna Alt F4 out of that. So now you have your DOS. So now if you were working, you could have, DOSBox open with Quake, and, you could easily set up like, Quake and then give it the launch parameters so it launches straight into your map, and you can test your map, and there you go. You have it. It's done. And even has the extra 4 and bounce and all that sort of stuff that I wasn't going to add, but apparently did it. Wow. So thanks everyone for watching. Definitely, like, share, subscribe, show this around. I'll probably also eventually do a Windows version of this. It'll be an exact duplicate, but you should be able to follow along if you're the Windows. Really, the only real difference is the pathing, and you should know the location of your stuff. So, and the location of these specific files are all going to be in the same place, except they have extensions. So should be relatively easy. But this one specifically shows you how to set up TrenchBroom and so forth in under Linux. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. Also, I realize one of the reasons why probably a lot of that stuff didn't show up was because I didn't save that map after I made the lighting change there of 300. Sorry, 500. I didn't save that map. Compile, launch, which means it wouldn't have compiled the right one. Hello, brightness. That is very bright. So yeah, anyway, like, share, subscribe, throw this thing everywhere. If you have any questions or anything, you can reply in the YouTube comment sections, but please do go to the forum, and there will be a link in the YouTube description, and you can get all the fun stuff there. And I will see you all in the next one, where we'll probably cover actual proper mapping now that we have everything set up. Thank you all for watching.